Hello, everybody. Welcome to Build Fly Go. So this is the exciting part of the trip. We're leaving Texas in the morning, Pleasanton, Texas, and heading into Mexico. So some of you guys might have heard that there have been some struggles with experimental aviation flying into Mexico, and AOPA and EAA and a bunch of other organizations are working with the Mexican government to get that sorted out. It's been a bit hit or miss from what we heard. Some airports are letting experimental aircraft in, some aren't. Alas. So we reached out to some contacts in Mexico, and in particular a friend in Monterey. And they assured us at the Monterey airport that we would be fine, that we could get a single entry permit, and that would not be a problem. So we decided, let's do this, right? In the worst case, we flew to Texas and then a little bit of Mexico, and it was warm, and we had to fly home. On the flip side, we would get it to go to Mexico, and it would be beautiful. So this is Laredo. We're actually crossing the border here. You can see the Laredo airport just off the left wing there. And we took off from Pleasanton, and the first stop is in Monterrey del Norte, which is the general aviation airport in Monterrey. And I figured I'd slow down the video a little bit for when we're crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. The landscape changes a little bit here. Yep, that was the turn for, okay, I've hit the Laredo VOR, and now I'm turning on the airway. So the landscape changes a little bit. It gets a little more deserty, a little sparser. Fewer, I guess, towns, if you will, so a little less dense, but it's still just gorgeous countryside. And we start getting some mountains, and these are the mountains right in front of Monterey. Monterey is sort of in this little valley, and well, I'll talk about that a little more later. So we filed IFR for this because I like to file IFR for border crossings, and as part of that, the controller set us up for, okay, you're going to do the VOR DME 2 for, I believe it was runway 21, which is fine, right? Like, I don't know the airport, it's hilly out there, and we decided, yes, let's do that. The bit I wasn't prepared for is they had me high for a really long time, and we had to just book it down from here. So if this was IMC, I would have said unable and been set up for another approach. But here I ended up descending at over 1,000 feet per minute to get down into the glide slope area and land at Monterey. This was an incredibly busy airport. When they transferred us to Tower, it was just non-stop radio calls from other people, and eventually I was like, okay, I need to talk to Tower, and I just budged in. This is where they put sort of the customs or sort of immigration aircraft in these circles. I believe there were 6 of them, and they were pretty much occupied the entire time we were there. We left the plane. I'm speeding this up a little bit. You'll see a lot of people come up and get their picture taken with the airplane, which is sort of cool, and take a look. We had no issues. Immigration is sort of finicky, or rather, the process is involved. You have to go to a bunch of different offices to get different papers done, and then different things stamped, and go back to the offices with the stamped things. And the fees aren't crazy. I believe it was about $100 US to get the single entry permit. The multi-entry permit is not significantly more. I think it's less than 2x. But it was recommended that we get just a single entry because it's less complicated, and we definitely wanted less complicated. That jet in front of us has just spooled up, and I honestly thought that we were going to get blown over. I couldn't believe that they started that jet and had them taxi from that close, right? I mean, at that turn where they blasted all of the people in the that were standing over there, I mean, incredible. I think that's my one complaint about that airport is I can't believe they let that jet do that. But anyway, so here we taxied to, I believe this is runway 11. A little bit of taxiing, but no, not bad. And so we take off VFR. Our next stop is Tampico in Mexico, which is, I think it was about an hour and a half flight. Tampico is a much, much smaller airport. And so we're taking off VFR. This is sort of a busy area, and there's two big airports right next to each other. So this is my fault. I should have planned for this. But apparently, there are VFR reporting checkpoints that they were expecting me to know where they were. And I had the charts out, and I was not aware of the VFR corridors and all that kind of stuff. So the controllers gave us vectors, and it was fine. And we stayed under 2,500 feet. We actually stayed at like 2,400 feet the entire time, which is what they requested. And so we're sort of flying around Monterey, and I mean, you can see the mountains in the distance. It was a bit hazy while we were down low. I believe we climbed up to maybe 10,000 or so, around 10,000-ish for this flight. We've been having wonderful tailwinds the entire way, so we were pretty happy with this. And as you've heard me say in the past, this airplane just sips fuel up high. So we're up at 10,000-ish, and it's burning, I don't know, like 6 gallons per hour, doing 150 some knots. And it's just fantastic. So coming into Tampico, Tampico was, honestly, it was a delight. It was a smaller airport. I think there were still 2 runways, maybe 2 runways? I don't remember. And there's a commercial aviation area and a general aviation area, and everybody is really nice. And we had the usual, so you land, and there's usually sort of an administrative person that comes out and asks you a couple of questions, and also some army people that come out and ask you a bunch of questions. And everybody was, as before, really nice and interested in the airplane. You can see people taking pictures with the airplane, which is cool. And the other thing here, so where is it? Can we see it? Where's that airplane? Okay, so there's an airplane that's going to taxi up to the fuel. That one. See if you can read the N numbers on that. It's November 681 Romeo Victor. That was the number I wanted to reserve for the RV-10. 681 Romeo Victor. Can you believe it? Like in Mexico, I bump into the airplane with another 68X Romeo Victor. It was incredible, and I think it was I think it's a TBM or something like that. I didn't look too close. Yeah, I can see the military guys taking pictures of the plane. And we were a little frazzled to run inside and get our paperwork done and keep going, because we heard that we should be doing these flights not late in the afternoon. Yeah, there it goes. I should have gone and said hello and asked him if he would let me have the N number. But anyway, so Tampico, different from Monterey, where it was one big building, right, in Monterey, but there, like the 4 or 5 different offices that you go to were all in different entrances and upstairs and downstairs, and you have to keep going back and forth. And it took a lot of back and forth in Monterey. In Tampico, everything is in the same hallway. And the minute we walked up to the flight plan guy, and he's like, "Oh, English or Spanish?" And I was like, "Well, let's try Spanish." And he's like, "Ah, yes," and he's having a good time with it, and walks us through filling out he filled out the flight plan for us, asked us all the questions, and then he's like, "Okay, you go next door," which is like the next booth in the hallway, and you pay your fee, which was less than 40 pesos, so I think it was about $2 for that fee, and pay the fee, and then you go to the office to my right instead of the office to my left, and they will look at your papers and they will stamp them, and then you come back to me. And he says this in Spanish, which I sort of picked up on, and it's exactly as expected. I go to next door to one lady, and she takes my money and then stamps something, and then I go to the other guy, and it was just easy and took 10 minutes, and then we went to the bathroom and went out to fuel, and there's 2 fuel guys that run the truck, and they were out fueling like a big airliner. Sorry, I'll get back to that. So you can see the peaks, like we've now climbed up to, I believe we're at 13.5 at this point, flying over the Sierra Madre range in Mexico, to go from the what is it, the sort of the Gulf Coast to the Pacific Coast. So we're way up high for us. This is pretty damn high on oxygen, of course, and it's just gorgeous. And we have 20 knot tailwinds the entire way, and a down like an unexpected upside of this. I hadn't been this high in this airplane. It was hot, so it did take us a little bit to get up there. I hadn't been this high in this airplane. We're burning 5-6 gallons per hour, doing 155 knots true, and with the tailwind, we're looking at 175, 180, like all the way there. It was just fantastic and fast and gorgeous, and you can see these like little valleys and peaks, and just absolutely gorgeous. But get back to the fuel. So they were fueling up another plane, an airliner, and we're like, well, okay, I guess we gotta wait. And they finally came to us and fueled us up and threw our credit card on the spot, and it was just easy peasy. Like, this is the easiest flying you can do internationally, honestly. And so anyway, so now we're coming up on sort of the other end of this mountain range, where we're gonna come to the coast, and there's a little bit of turbulence here, but not too bad. And we're coming, and notice you can see sort of on the horizon, there's this line of clouds, and we're still up at 13.5 at this point, because we have to pass the sort of the top. And if you look at the Mexico chart, we're coming up to Huatulco on the Pacific coast, and if you look at the chart, there's not a lot. There's maybe like 10 miles. It's 10 miles wide from the mountains to the shoreline. And these clouds are pretty much the entire 10 miles. So I can't descend at this point. And I'm thinking, I actually don't mind this, right? Like, we can see that the clouds run out basically at the coastline. So we don't mind going to the coast and then descending and coming down. And Huatulco Tower actually called us at this point, because I had been delaying calling them, and they called, and they're like, oh, where are you? Everything's okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're cool. And I said, I just told them, like, we're up high, and it's going to take us, so you see the coastline now, and the clouds are just ending. We're up high, we have to descend, and, we'll call you when we're done. So I decided, well, I might as well do a little pass by the house, because why not? And here we are. We're just past the house on the left here. I don't know exactly where it is. And then I call Huatulco, and I climb from some hundreds of feet off of the ground, off the ocean, up to 1,000 feet AGL, and call them, and we just set up for landing in Huatulco. And this was a great flight, great trip out here. We're going to be here for a couple of weeks, and then we'll fly back. In the meantime, I've got a couple of other videos that we'll be publishing that I've been saving up for you guys to see. But it was funny, we got to Huatulco. You'll notice the person comes out to take our information, and then that's it. Like, nobody else wants to talk to us. We leave, get our rental car, drive to the house. All good. Okay, well, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Hopefully you guys are having adventures of your own safely. And we'll see you on the way back. Have a good one.